Welcome. Welcome to 13. Okay, guys, we're going to get right into it. So, this week, um, a few things about DoorDash that we need to discuss. DoorDash, I think most of you are aware. You've seen news or you've heard other channels talking about this. We've talked about this a few times this week on different things, um, different shows on the Paris show. If you didn't see that, by the way, the Delivered episode, please check it out if you're interested in Delivered. But there's two stories going on with DoorDash right now. One, and I'm gonna put them in a different order than I have been on the other things this week. But one, the order volume for DoorDash, it's still in an estimation period. And again, before I tell you, they're trying to offset it by making it look to the investors like the order volume is going to be off to the investors regardless. There's nothing they can do about it. However, they're trying to increase some prices on the customer side, making it even more expensive, which we knew kind of might need to happen, but it's happening for the wrong reasons right now. So they're trying to offset some of that to make it look like the order volume is still just as high because look at the numbers we're doing. But estimated, it still varies quite a bit, but I've seen everything from 15 to 21, maybe even 21 point something percent volume down across the country for DoorDash orders, and that's in the last 2 months. So in the last 2 months, there I mean, if you do that, let's use it at the high end, 20%. Now let's even just in the back of your mind, remember it might be 15, but it is one I mean, it's that's 15s at best. But let's call it 20 because 20 is one fifth of the volume that they do. That still leaves them in a leader position over Uber Eats for volume. But actually, you guys, that's a big hit. And I mean, Uber's still not reporting, Hall of Fame earnings quarters and whatnot, but Uber Eats volume's up a little bit, but they've been way down for a while as opposed to DoorDash. So, is DoorDash slipping? 100%. Does that mean like it's over? No, not at all. And to each their own in the markets, because how your market is handling this is night and day. However, whenever things like this and trends happen, I check in with drivers across the country, both for Para and for myself, um, just out of interest. And for the audio podcast, I often have people on who don't really come to YouTube. Most of you guys don't know these people. There are other drivers though that listen to the audio podcast, and often I have these drivers on the podcast, um, just to meet them because if they have a good story and they email me, it's pretty interesting, and I'll have them on. So I check in with all these people, and whenever trends are happening, I think I've always said this, that usually I can find a few big markets that are like, "Well, that's not happening in my market." In my market, I'm not crushing it like I'd like to this time of year, but I'm doing pretty well. Right now, across the board, everybody seems to be taking a hit. I don't care what market you're in. I mean, one of the best comparisons that I heard right now was from Kim's Side Money Plans. Kim yesterday and popped into a live I was doing, and she said that normally she earns 11 to 1300 a week off just her DoorDash work, and she said that she'll probably hit 1,000. Now Josh was in there, and Josh said that he normally hits 900 with the amount of DoorDash work he does, and he'll be lucky to hit 300 this week. Those are two extreme cases. Most of the cases I'm hearing are people are down about 50 or 40% from their normal weekly earnings the last 2, maybe 3 weeks, but especially this week. This week has been a nail biter. So the volume's down. So of course the order's down because you have oversaturation before more oversaturation before workers getting losing their jobs, quitting, being laid off, whatever, and or people needing extra income because the holidays are coming up and we're in a recession and there's lots of things going wrong in the economy everywhere. So again, don't take this personally. It's not just you, it's everybody. Um, but oversaturation is a word we used when the markets were oversaturated. We've now taken oversaturation and put on like two more levels of oversaturation. It's so oversaturated that at a at I mean, at some point, people I think we'll see at least for a while, and then it'll go back up again, I'm sure, but there's gonna be a lot of people dropping off the platforms here the next week. or the next few weeks because it's the holidays. They got on here to make money, and there's no money to be made with this many drivers on the platforms. That's why I always prefer platforms who have waiting lists and onboard for an as needed type thing to know that they'll lose their best drivers if they just completely go crazy. But there's the difference in littler and bigger companies because littler companies like Curry or Delivered, they still want to grow and be huge, but they don't, they're not they're not Uber Eats and DoorDash just undercutting each other to the bottom. And the only way they can do that is to so oversaturate that there's no work for anybody. And so the DoorDash people are suffering. The other thing DoorDash did this week was they added a feature for the customer side where when you get to the end, if you don't have a tip in there, it puts up a screen that says, um, just understand that if by not tipping, um, your food is likely to arrive cold. First of all, horrible marketing ploy. If drivers think that that's really cool at DoorDash, but I'd like you to go read some articles. You can find them on uberliftdrivers.com/rideshare rodeo.com. They both go to the same place. But here's the thing, guys, you can't, I mean, they're not, that's not a driver bonus. We talked about it on the roundtable this week. And to be honest, like with that option, isn't going to get people to tip. And if it does, if there's people who don't tip, no tip orders, and they're like, "Oh, if I don't tip, I'm gonna get cold food." Okay, I'll tip $1. So, I know every dollar matters. However, do we want that $1? Do we want people to now be trained to tip $1? Because I don't think that screen's gonna make them go, "Oh, wait, I knew that, I should have tipped." I think people are struggling right now, and I also have always thought that they think gig workers are paid better than they are, especially the delivery space. For whatever reason, people think that you're paid, a minimum wage and then everything else on top is, and we know that's not how it works. But at the same time, the I don't think that's going to help. In fact, it couldn't. I mean, it could lead to more customers leaving the platform. There are other enticing platforms right now, especially if you're a restaurant or a location or somebody that wants to do or deal with Easy Cater or somebody else other than DoorDash to do your catering, Delivered, Works. I mean, there's so many options now that these companies are looking into the better service providers, the ones who don't really like Delivered, Works, those type apps where you don't have an acceptance rate. Nobody cares if you don't accept any, but if you take one, you better complete it, I mean, DoorDash has the unassigned feature, and to be honest, who wants to do their catering on an app that allows that? I mean, I've heard of many cases where people are like, "Oh, I got to keep this whole catering order because DoorDash screwed up." Well, what do you think happened to the people who ordered the food and have a catering event? So when that happens to that person, that client is now looking for a better service, and hence why we're seeing all these catering companies popping up everywhere. There's a lot of them now, you guys. So I would say start onboarding to more, especially those who do delivery. Start onboarding. Don't sweat the DoorDash thing. Work your DoorDash market when it's popping for you and when you're able on your flex time. Don't just be on it declining throughout the day because the days of amazing DoorDash orders and unicorns at least coming through every so often, they're pretty much gone. I mean, can they come back? Maybe, but the same thing that happened to Rideshare a while back when they undercut each other to the ground. I used to make over $1 a mile plus the per minute fee when doing UberX. I've been doing it since 2015, but it's now down to UberX is like 55 cents a mile. Well, the standards tax deduction is 62 cents a mile. So I get paid 55 cents to do the mile plus time, but I also get to write off 62 cents, which always is weird to me that I'm writing off more than Uber is paying me for the mile. But hey, it's not a great system for sure. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of shit going on with DoorDash. I'm not going to lie. and people should take it very seriously and onboard to deliver that. Paraworks, look, just get on other apps. If you like doing food, there's more, maybe not all of them are in your market, but you might have some in your market that I don't have in mind. I mean, it is a time when we're seeing a lot of growth in other companies trying to do catering work, and maybe they'll move into food and whatnot. We'll see. So the only other story it looks like I'm gonna have time to get to because I need to are the three the three teen rideshare incidents we had this week. This week. So Uber Teen and Lyft need to kill that off. We already have enough problems. So let's go through them real quick. We had a 13-year-old boy in DC last seen at an or last known location at an intersection. That's because the phone either was turned off or broken at that intersection because they can't find the boy still. Um, the 13-year-old boy was known to be in an Uber, and and it's in DC, and the last known location was an intersection. Um, at that intersection, the phone died, and so the if you're I'm not even familiar with it because my son's 17, but I wouldn't allow him to use Uber Teen because of this, and he's even 17. But so here's the deal: the last known location was that, and at that point, the location was killed. Obviously, the Uber driver went offline as well, and so that's a big problem, right? We also had a 17-year-old girl in a Lyft, and the Lyft driver was on the wrong side of the highway, hit a commercial truck. He died upon impact. She is in critical condition in ICU. And then we also had a 16-year-old girl riding Uber Teen, and the driver, the entire way taking her to where she was going, was showing her um, ex- explicit photos of himself to a 16-year-old girl. So those are three incidences with the teen rideshare this week. And we talked enough about the DoorDash, you guys. I really think that I know a lot of you multi-apps, so I'm not too worried about you. I know that you know how to juggle and deal, but use this time wisely to onboard to more apps that you think you could like. There's a lot of them out there. And if you have any questions, always feel free to email me, steve@ridesharerodeo.com, and I will get back to you. You guys, that's 13 minutes of gig news in just under 13 minutes. Peace.